Okay, I think we're good. Sorry about that disruption. I want us to take a little break. Let's take a 5 minute break and let me sort out a few technical issues. Is that okay? Can we take a 5 minute break, guys? This is 5:20, 5:25. We'll be right back, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Are the calls coming in? That means the forwarding didn't work. So
That's fine.
I was already in class when I learned about the forwarding, so I'll probably try it now that I'm on break. That's what I'm trying to do.
okay,
All right, see you guys soon. Thanks.
okay. I just wanted to know if that won't work.
Yeah, I'll try it now. All right.
Hello. Good luck.
Okay, surprise, surprise. I tried everything to do the forwarding. I didn't know where the forwarding controls are. I think the last time I did all those forwarding of all calls was those days when phones were not smartphones. so I think someone might be able to send me like a WhatsApp message on how to set forwarding on my phone. I couldn't find it. You won't believe it. Okay. So that's my experience after the break. But for now, I'm going to just go on with the class and hope that we have as little disruption as possible. Share my screen again. Okay. So this is very important when you put together training for your cleaning crews. If you teach them how things are done, it is fine. Taking them through the motions. You wipe this way. When you are scrubbing, you go circular motion. When you are taking care of mirrors, this is how you do it. It's fine. Please include why you are telling them that in your training. If people don't understand why, they will either resist and keep doing it the way they've always, because most of what we do are products of habits that have been formed. So it's either outrightly turning down that change that you're trying to bring up, or inadvertently returning back to who they are. It's only when people understand why, consequences, benefits, advantages and disadvantages of certain actions you are expecting of them, that they can actually make the real change from within. So whether you're teaching them how to handle hygiene and sterilization issues, how to even dress up for the work themselves. The cleaner once said he prefers to just, dress light, like singlets and shorts, because cleaning work is very energetic and he'll get sweaty. And as such, he'd rather expose himself completely, wear, slippers to do the work. I mean, if you listen to that kind of argument, it makes sense. It makes sense on the surface. But two things are critical at that point. One is exposure and the risk to the individual. And second is the risk to the business. How will people perceive your cleaning operations if the ladies are wearing spaghetti arms and the guys are wearing singlets just because they will feel hot? So find ways to solve the problems by giving them breathable fabric as their uniforms, but not being half-dressed. Okay? And then people should understand what's happening in their environment as cleaners. You know that most cleaners will come in to do work and ignore anything else that's not exactly their job. If you are still dealing with that in your site, it's a failure of management. They should see their work as part of a holistic experience for the user. So they must be conversant with everything else that the customer or the user is experiencing in that space. That training is very key. Training on how microorganisms work and how they can help prevent spread. Very important. Their own hygiene. Cleaners work very hard, so they sweat a lot. If you tell them always smell fresh, always look clean, and you have cleaners in the site that you did not provide a means for them to wash up, then that becomes a problem that you are creating. If you have gardeners and cleaners in your site, no matter how small that site is, find a way to provide a wash-up opportunity for them. And then training on cleaning techniques. Some equipment you have bought have been damaged because you did not train people on how to use those tools. Once And your training is not supposed to just cover how to protect the equipment. Your training is also to cover how to protect the individuals using the equipment so that they don't get hurt, and also on how to get the best value out of the equipment, getting the cleaning done. The tools that I use. Train your cleaners on how to handle their tools. I know that one of the biggest challenges you have will be metal, parts of your tools going rusted and breaking, your mops, becoming soggy and falling off, and all kinds of things. Yes, you will have them because they don't know how to handle the tools. Your lawnmowers are used, and within a short while, the blades and all the other components are beginning to have problems. Devote as much time to the work. As much time to the work as you will use in caring for the equipment you use for the work. So don't ignore that effort that goes into clean. For example, you are going to use a lawnmower from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock. So closing time is 5 o'clock, and the person is supposed to walk till 5. Why should the person walk till 5? Why don't you provide a 30 minutes window, 1 hour window, to have that equipment cleaned and put back in storage? There are even those who clean and leave the equipment right where they used it. Right where they used it. And what is their response for doing that? Tomorrow, we will continue. Is that an acceptable practice? We accept this, we do. And then, how do you select and use cleaning products? I've seen cleaners expecting magic from cleaning products. So they dump the chemicals everywhere and hope that with very little effort, the cleaning will be done. And for some, they've not even been trained on how the chemicals would affect them or affect the materials that they are working on. I keep saying, we should not take it for granted or think that the chemicals we use for cleaning are so mild that we can be exposed to them as long as possible. They are just as dangerous as every other poison classes around us. Secondly, when chemicals are used for cleaning purposes, do not overuse them, because this is a big issue we're having. I have this with almost every cleaning operation. I walk past and I see a mop bucket that with latter and it's foaming all over. The next question is, what am I trying to do? Am I going to paint the floor, or am I supposed to clean the floor? If I have that much foam in the water, I will not see you with a mop. I should see you with a brush. It means that you want to scrub, you want to wash, hard scrubbing. That's why you have that much soap in the water. You can't have so much soap in the water and use a mop to spread it all over the place and see it. I don't understand. Teaching them how to do this so that they learn how to put such little soap in water that they cannot feel it. They put their hands in the water, they won't feel the soap in the hand. It's so little. That's where you can attempt to clean. Of course, for those who know how to do it twice, and every time they put that much soap, they have to use clean water to come back and wash again, then yes. The storage of your tools and your cleaning equipment. There are some, you know, those waiting rooms where cleaners will hang out, you know, when work is not ongoing or when they are done for the morning and they are waiting for an afternoon round, for example. Then you store all these chemicals inside there. The place is pungent, it's smelling of chemicals. They are sitting in there, they're having their chats, they are putting their food around those things, they're inhaling all of those chemicals. Come on. I would rather have cleaners coming in the morning, work for a certain number of hours, and go, than to have them there all day. If I have more than 3 cleaners, there should be no reason why more than one should stay behind. They should work, and one person takes the turn to do the touch-ups that needs to be done. And if you have to do morning and evening, so be it. But crowding them inside a locker or locker room where you also store chemicals is not the way to go. If you have a proper lounge, then go ahead, where you have driver's room in some facilities. You can keep them there. Of course, you want to use them for other things during the day and so on and so forth. And then train your cleaners on documentation. Have you finished cleaning? Yes. Was there a checklist for that cleaning? Was that checklist used to verify that the steps have been taken to validate that that job has been done? So it now sounds like cleaning is so easy that there should be no proper way of doing it. We should just get people who are experienced in cleaning, let them use their mind to do cleaning the way they like. No. Cleaning is too important an aspect of your facility management for you to leave to the whim of those you put in charge of cleaning. You develop a cleaning method statement. You develop a cleaning checklist. So that's how people should be trained. So if you've not created a training program for your cleaning crews, this is like basic. This is just like basic. This is compulsory elementary level outline of training your cleaning crew should go through. When you start deploying training to your team, you know that old habits die hard, they say, right? So it's not always very easy to get people to change the way they have been doing things. Not always very easy. And because that's, there'll be that challenge. So people come in and just train one day and the next day start applying penalties. You have to do it this way, do it that way. Why are you still doing that? Have I not taught you? Have I not trained you? You start shouting, no. Don't expect magic or miracles. With training, you need to create a change management approach. You need to understand where they are coming from and know exactly where you want to take them. There's a step-by-step effort that you can use to manage that change. Don't try to change everybody on everything at once. Target a small number of risk practices. For example, if it is just the first effort of making sure that people don't use the same napkin or cleaning cloths they use in the toilets on your workstations. Let's start with that. How can we segregate cleaning materials? You train, you observe, you monitor for that one. So that's the whole idea. Don't come out of this training. Oh, we've done cleaning training. There are these 21 rules, and there are these 20 things we are doing wrong. We are all going to change it overnight, and then no, you take it step by step. Because if you understand the motives, some people have very good intention in what they do. Some cleaners actually think you are ignorant, especially when you are just dishing out rules and commands. Everything you will learn as a facility manager, when you want to bring it to your team any day, you're not going to just pour it out. You are going to discuss with them. The ideas will come out of those discussions as something that was, created together, not something you came out and rolled out. Okay, take for example, telling the cleaner you are smelling. You are smelling. Can't you take your bath before you come into work? Do you think you have done any good? Nah, you haven't done any good. Okay, so it's important that we learn how to manage the change process. So let's look at cleaning work method statements. You create a simple cleaning instruction that identifies what is to be cleaned. I started this class with this. I said, for every space, you must know what needs to be cleaned. How often? The frequency. Which equipment or tool to use. I remember a cleaning equipment manufacturer came to do some demo on how effective their cleaning equipment was, and we should acquire it. I won't believe part of the demo was the fact that that machine can do massage. There are multifunctional machines out there. There are tools that can do multiple things, but you need to be specific on what tool and what kind of action from that tool will take out what you want to remove from a particular cleaning operation. So the methods, materials and chemicals, time it should take. I had one issue. I think it's just last week. A supervisor saying that a particular cleaner will end up with a clean space that people will be satisfied with. But that cleaner takes forever. So a job that should have been done in 30 minutes, this guy can do it in 3 hours, but it will be thorough, my dear. There must be a balance. You cannot say because he is thorough, he should be cleaning one toilet from morning till night. No. You create a program. You let him know that cleaning this toilet, the daily cleaning of this toilet is 30 minutes. We'll walk through it. You practice it. But the weekend cleaning of this toilet, which is a deep cleaning, is 1 hour. Why? Because the activities of the daily cleaning should be different from the activities of the deep cleaning. So the tasks are different. I interviewed a cleaner last week, and he says he likes being given his space when he's working. But when he's done, you'll be satisfied. Everything will be orderly. Everything will be clean in that space. Look, there should be a way to do it that goes beyond what one individual thinks. If what that one individual thinks is what you want to adopt, write it down and make it your standard for everybody. Not that when that Mr. A is not there and Mrs. B goes in to do the job, does it in her own way, it now becomes something we don't like. No, that's not cleaning. That's not how to manage a team. Okay? It's important that we focus on quality outcomes. You must be able to write that down for the cleaner. Take the toilet, for example. You know those stains inside? Set the standard. Look, you see that stain inside? That's what I would check for. I asked one cleaner to do his self-evaluation, inspect this room that you have just cleaned, and tell me how clean things are. And you know what he did? He touched the wall, touched the floor, touched the mirror, touched the TV, and said everything is fine. But when I put my hand on the top of the doorpost, it came out black. Even your skirting, your floor skirting, the top. Is that part of the person's work? Of course. The risk associated with that cleaning task, as well as the safety precaution, needs to also make up that cleaning work method statement. You develop cleaning work method statement because you want to get a standard way of doing things amongst all your cleaners. So this particular slide is something that you need to take to heart. The cleaning work method statement. Take it to heart and try to create a sample work method statement for one particular space. This is a practice that has been long in existence. For example, for highly sensitive areas like emergencies and operating rooms and laboratories, they have used this cleaning work method statements to develop standard operating procedures in those environments. Our environments that we manage as facility managers should not be different. How do you manage your teams? How do you share work for your people? I've seen some people say, oh, you're in charge of floor 1, you're in charge of floor 2, you're in charge of floor 3. How do you decide that the workload is balanced? Floor 1 gets inflow of people. Floor 3 is the empty floor. Very spacious, heavily furnished and maintained to the teeth. You could decide to work with individual or zone cleaning, an approach of sharing your spaces and work to be done to individuals. You are cleaning the toilets. That is your zone. That's called individual cleaning. So all of the tasks related to that zone or that area becomes your job. But of course, it's not always easy to share the zones equally among cleaners. And because how Mr. A works and how Mr. B works is not a standard approach, you'll end up with different outcomes in zone cleaning. And because I have to clean everything in that space, you as a manager may not necessarily invest on many equipments, because what it means is that you have to give all of us the equipment. Let's assume you want to get a steam cleaner for certain tasks. Are you going to buy 10 steam cleaners so that all your 10 cleaners will have their own? Just talking about the features of zone or individual cleaning. Plus the fact that a cleaner has to go in a big cart with many cleaning tools and chemicals to go and do a job in a zone. So think about that when you develop your zone cleaning program. But you could also operate another approach, which we call the task or team cleaning. In the task cleaning, the individual has one particular task that he performs from zone to zone. So if there are 5 tasks that the person who is doing individual or zone cleaning would have done with 5 tools, I will now give those tasks to 5 people and get them to walk through 5 zones together. That's where it's also called team cleaning. I give you a sweeper. You'll be sweeping from space to space, task cleaning. But the spaces you are sweeping, someone else is mopping, someone else is wiping in those spaces. We are working as a team. The final outcome becomes something that is appreciated by all as one final experience. Gabriela, let's hear from you. Your hand is up. Was that an error, Gabriela? All right, when we get to question and answers, I'm sure we can.
That's just, hello, sir, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Biocat was logged out.
Was logged out?
Yes, please, can you log her in?
Oh,
Biocat
okay.
was logged in.
I see. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right, no problem. I'm also making you a co-host so that you can admit anybody in, Gabriela.
Okay, sir.
So when Baraka comes, you can make her co-host as well. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So once you are developing this approach, you cannot mix individual or zone cleaning with task or team cleaning. You cannot mix them together in the same roster. If you are in a task or team cleaning, each person handles one aspect of the work and works across zones. So you have increased productivity because they work together. And then, because they will all have to go through all the zones, there's a tendency that there will be more work, balancing of workload. Less confusion, because of course, everybody knows exactly what they should be doing. And then, when you are doing training, it is easy to train one person on the lawnmower or train one person on the scrubber or how to handle a particular spray machine than to train everybody on everything. And then with this era of pandemics, every now and then, we need to fortify our facilities hygienically. And we can do this by using color coding to prevent disease spread, what we call cross-contamination within your facilities. What color coding does in cleaning as a professional practice is to ensure that the individual, his tools and PPEs, his chemicals and everything that relates to a particular zone is kept in that zone, is colored to the sanitary level of that zone. So when I'm doing color coding, I'll have to use individual or zone cleaning approach. Instead of packing people from zone to zone in the facility, I will color code each zone in my floor plan. The toilet areas are the highest in terms of risk, red zone. Laboratories and specialty areas like archives, yellow zone. Normal residential areas where we have bedrooms and living rooms and offices and classrooms, blue zone, where we are most common around. And then areas where food is processed and eaten, dining halls, dining rooms and kitchens, and stores where food is kept. Green zones, or where you have your water dispenser, green zone, because that's where something goes into the body from. So the green zone will have its own cleaning chemicals, cleaning tools, equipments, and the people that work there. We even have PPEs that are uniform to that zone. And you do that for every zone. The reason is you don't want any form of cross-contamination. If you've worked in a hospital, you will see that they are the ones that really, really try to implement this. Otherwise, somebody will come out from emergency or come out from having received somebody who has been coming with contamination and use the same mop. I mean, nowadays you see some people mopping and they are mopping from room to room, not even dipping the mop into a bucket, let alone changing the bucket or changing the water inside it. They just spread everything they find from that other room straight back into the room. I've been in a hotel where the cleaners come into your room, clean the bathroom, and then they start mopping from there. They mop straight through into the bedroom. Many people don't see the risk in this. Once I saw this young man cleaning my table, where I'll put my laptop and where I'll work and touch every now and then. I was just curious. I asked him, is this the same napkin you use for cleaning the toilet? Because I know he puts the napkin into the toilet, he washes, under the rim and inside the bowl with some Harpic in it. His response shocked me. Innocently, he said, oh, when I finish, I wash it before bringing it here. What washing is he talking about? Washing it under the sink. So we live a life of miracles. For those of us who are religious, we live a life of miracles every day. The kind of risk we take from day to day, it shows that we're living a life of miracle for real. But that's reality. So if you want to go away from that kind of risk, you use what we call color coding. Every area on the floor plan is mapped. Nothing switches from one zone to the other. I've talked about chemicals. If I have my way, I'll get rid of all inorganic chemicals. But for now, use chemicals as sparingly as possible. Don't take delight in pouring chemicals anyhow. If a disinfectant can kill germs, can kill humans. I say this when I'm teaching about fumigation and all of those pest control. Oh, they sprayed your room. It's the mild type. You can stay inside. No. Every chemical should not go into the body. No chemical is allowed inside the body. Use sparingly, dilute it properly, and don't spray chemicals on surfaces. A cleaner cleaned a very brand new, very expensive wardrobe by spraying the chemical and making S so that he can wipe with his dry cloth. That S that he drew all over that wardrobe is still there till today. Because he thought that once he spray, he will wipe it off and use it to spread it evenly. What he did not know was that that impact was going to be etched on that very expensive. What was the best practice? You should have put it on his cloth, use it to soak his cloth, and use his cloth to do the cleaning. So you cannot cover evenly. So as a way to reduce the impact of chemicals in the cleaning, we recommend steam cleaning for those of us that can afford the energy to run steam machines, and then peroxide-based disinfectants. But I think we have quite a good range of mild disinfectants in Nigeria. Learn to use microfiber cloths instead of the typical cotton or woolen materials we use for washing and cleaning. They are not very absorbent, so they're not for mopping up liquid. They're actually for cleaning, and they don't leave links. That's why most of us that use glasses, you will find dentists recommending, soft cloth like this for cleaning a glass, because you don't want to wipe and leave links on it. Okay. If you can do without harmful chemicals, please do without. I've heard of cleaning. Okay, so there's a new development where people who have done tiling and messed chemicals all over the place, they tell you that it's acid that it dilutes to use for cleaning. If your cleaning level, if your space has become that bad that you now need to go and get acid to dilute and use for cleaning, there's no room, there's no position for acid in cleaning. None. There's no role for it in cleaning. The chemicals we're using are already harmful enough. Why do I need to go and get acid as a cleaning chemical? Plan cleaning schedule. It's the simplest, most reliable way to clean a space is to stick to a schedule. Now, this is something that you work with them, you work with the cleaners to create the cleaning work method statement, but they need to create their own step-by-step task to deliver on what you've asked them to do. Let's go over a few cleaning rules. Make every move counts, which means know exactly why you are doing anything in cleaning, so you don't waste time. Use the right tools. Don't use an iron sponge for what you can use a scraper for. Don't use a scraper for what you can use a brush for. Work from top to bottom. You see that mentality of top to bottom, ingrain it in the minds of cleaners. You know why? When you look down on anything, it receives whatever goes up. Whatever goes up, the thing must come down, right? So when dust is settling, it settles on surfaces. So start from surfaces that your hand can reach, like top of architraves and doors, top of windows, top of TVs, and top of fans, ceiling fans and lights, for example, and clean down. Don't finish cleaning the ground and then start climbing to clean up. Why? Common sense, isn't it? What you clean up will fall back down. So they should know. Don't keep working after it is clean. If what you are doing is not going to work, shift to a heavier duty cleaning. Keep your tools in impeccable shape. It's actually a good practice to challenge your cleaners on who maintains his tools best. Run a leaderboard, run an award system. It saves you a lot of money for replacing tools, but it also makes your cleaners more professional. Attention to details. You cannot overlook that. And don't spend the whole day doing the same task. There's a time for everything. That time has to be controlled because time is money in FM. Chemicals. Don't use it if you are not trained. Don't allow your food in the same room where you have cleaning chemicals. Even a gallon of liquid soap in the same room with your tuber of yam or bag of rice. That bag of rice or tuber of yam would have been infused with enough chemicals just overnight. Ensure that chemicals that you use are labeled. There have been all kinds of accidents from pouring chemicals from a big gallon into smaller bottles, including Coke bottles and Fanta bottles. So many accidents. So don't take that gamble. If you are going to use containers to share chemicals out, make sure those chemicals, those containers, you stick labels to them. And then also have your manufacturer or material safety data sheet, MSDS, for all your chemicals. What is an SDS? A safety data sheet is a document that outlines the name of the chemical, the active ingredient in the chemical, what it's used for, directions for its use, hazards if exposed, precautions to prevent those hazards, and remedy if you're exposed to those hazards. And use chemicals for what they were intended for. For manual equipment handling, my advice is try to keep your manual handheld equipment in such a way that they can be used ergonomically. For example, bending over to use a floor brush, for example, is not ergonomical. You want to have that brush long enough so the individual who is using it can stand erect. It is better to squat by putting your knees on the surface of the ground while walking, like taking out, scraping out certain things, than to bend down and your back is arched. There are so many mechanical equipment that we use. It's important to ensure that we consider their noise level, energy consumption, and the amount of water they use, and the impact on the individual ergonomy before we acquire them, and train people on how to use those equipments properly. I'm not going to review the cleaning methods with you. They're just all of those cleaning steps that you can read one after the other. How to wipe and clean a bathroom. You know, it's important that you do inspections. Don't do inspections as a way to punish the cleaner. Train the cleaners to do their own inspections. Then you will have a lot to gain in terms of how your work and your productivity will increase. So I've talked about dusting before. You see it repeated again and again in the material. Don't take dusting as blowing things in the air. Take dusting as wiping things away, clearing things away. When you do your routine cleaning, certain things build up in corners, on skirting, on edges. You need to do stripping. This is where you use some chemicals and some harder equipment. You soak up all those surfaces that you need to strip. I use some equipment to, whenever you do that stripping operation, your floors usually get restored or whatever surface you are stripping gets restored to their original look and feel. And then you can apply new wax again and continue with your work. Your personnel must always be healthy to do cleaning. You can't have personnel who can't clean themselves, who are ill or injured doing cleaning. Okay, so this is a very important area. When cleaners come to work, the first check you do is to find out whether they are ill or whether they are healthy to do the work that they've come for that day. We talked about all of these hygiene aspects, communicable diseases, personal hygiene. You can't wash your hands too many times anymore, right? Even if COVID-19 stops tomorrow, the habit of washing hands will save us for a long time. It will give us a higher standard of living for a long time to come if we just maintain that hand washing and avoiding exposure to chemicals and people who are infected with one thing or the other. Don't forget the fingernails and the body, bathing well for the job. And washing our clothes. Some people look at the clothes and say, this clothes is not dirty, so no need to wash it. It doesn't have to be physically dirty for you to need to wash it. We told you that you're cleaning for what? You're cleaning for dirt, you're cleaning for what again? You're cleaning for hygiene of bacteria, and you're also cleaning for smell, right? And there's something that also helps with that a lot. If you, especially for ladies who have expensive fabrics, they don't want to wash all the time, sunning it directly under ultraviolet rays will help to kill germs, reduce odors, and also clean. I do this all the time with my cleaner. Come to work, go and take a shower before you start the job. Don't say, oh, when I finish, I will bathe before I go. You will bathe when you are leaving, but before you start the job, go and bathe now. And then when you're at work, don't store your lunch or your food in the wrong spaces, especially around chemicals. What are our habits when we use the toilets? When you cough or touch your body parts, wash your hands. You can't do it too much these days. Both for ladies and gentlemen, when you're doing cleaning, wear your hair nets because there's a high likelihood that you have hair follicles dropping off. And this is not about any illness, it's normal. Hair will drop off. So as part of cleaning paraphernalia or PPEs or kits, hair covers should be there. Housekeeping is a little bit more involving than cleaning. It includes cleaning, but it also ensures that everything in the environment is orderly, well arranged, and functioning. So it's more widespread in terms of its approach. Why do we fight pests when it is our habits and our behaviors that has invited them in the first place? Pest control is not the old practice that we know of. You allow all the pests come in, establish their dominion with you, and then you go and get some weapons to kill all of them. How is that going? Pest control by fumigation has not worked. Pest control by preventing the pests from finding their space with you is the basis of what the integrated pest management system now as a new approach to pest management. The pests serve a purpose in the ecosystem. Let them stay there. So you do screening, you inspect your spaces to be sure that the pests cannot come in. What will make a pest go the extra mile to come into your space? Your invitation. Refuse left inside the house overnight. Houses that are unkept, sinks that are filled with dishes, with half-eaten meals. Ah, that is a feast you have prepared for your enemy. They will cut through nets, cut through screening, find their way in. If you maintain that proper cleaning approach, where everywhere is cleaned every night before you go to bed or before you leave the office, and every refuse is taken out to the proper refuse bay, which is always covered, the pests will look round and not sense anything that will bring them into your space. What about special waste? There are certain wastes like chemicals, asbestos, medical waste, pesticides that you should not just dump with your regular waste. If you're in Lagos, you're lucky. I believe some other states are having their equivalent of Loma. They have specialist units that comes to handle special waste. So if you take out those mercury bulbs, fluorescents, don't chuck them in the bin. Arrange them neatly somewhere and call them to come and pick them. They have a way of processing those mercury. Okay. What are the hazards with cleaning? Biological hazards from molds, insects, pests, chemical and dust hazards, economic hazards from repetitive motions, safety hazards, slips, trips, falls, physical hazard, noise, temperature extremes, and radiation. And then work organization hazard. People don't know what to do. You're screaming your head off. They're stressed. No standard, no procedure for doing things. So it's important that we understand the specific hazard for different things, different types of tasks that we perform. The equipment should always be kept safe. We have what we call the lockout and tagout procedures for mechanical equipment. The manuals contain those instructions. Every day you finish work, step 1, you switch that off. Step 2, you clean that out. Step 3, you fold that in. Step 4, you take that into a store, and so on and so forth. We've talked a lot about chemicals. It's key to the work that we do, and it's important that we don't depend on chemicals. We need to have controls in place. Every hazard that is identified as part of our risk assessment needs to be controlled. So engineering controls that requires physical change to the workplace. For example, when you have railings, when you have bars that protect people from falling over, they're all engineering controls. Administrative controls, including work practices that requires the worker or employer to do something in a particular way. So when you create your work method statements, your checklist, your inspection sheets, and so on and so forth, you are putting administrative controls, because each of the steps you identify in them will be conscious of the kind of hazards you are trying to avoid. And then the personal protective equipment. We always put PPE as the last line of defense, the bottom line of defense. PPEs will save you if everything else fails. So anytime you get exposed and your PPE gets impacted, I always will need an investigation of how all the other controls failed to the point where PPE became a solution. Some examples of engineering controls, administrative controls, we've talked through them, and then the PPE, the control of last resort. Don't let that be the control that saves you, okay? All right, I know you must have questions. I'm going to give a 5-minute break, and then I'm going to take all your questions, okay? Okay, let's see what hands are up. Who's chatting us? Okay, I see. Okay, so the question about latter, I said less latter, right? Not more, okay? That's Joanne, I hope you got that, less latter. So you put very little soap, not plenty. All right, so let's see whose hands up. No hands up. Okay. Class over then. And there's no assessments, no assignments.
Hello.
Yes, Daniel.
Sorry, I have been really busy. I'm so sorry. Thank you for this module you just treated. Cleaning is one of my I have been I call it exceptional passion for cleaning. So it's I think I have over 15 years in this industry, you know, and all that. Okay. You just want I know you made mention of process more like you know, I was going off on and off because of what so many things I was trying to attend to. You made the procedure of cleaning is there has to be top to bottom. So, am I correct?
Yes, you're right. Top to bottom, yes.
Yeah. So I just wanted to maybe like with my experience, I just want to just share that. Maybe get that clarification. Yes. So based on my experience, I don't think top to bottom might be applicable in all the cleaning operations because so for instance, when you need to sweep, especially when you have a dusty place, because you have to first of all sweep, and then but the process of sweeping, there is a tendency that dust will rise and will settle on distance. You know, so when it rises, you allow them for some time. I mean, to settle on those surfaces, and you dust. That is from there you can now start from top to bottom.
So I presume you are calling, yes, you are talking about sweeping, the traditional sweeping with brooms, right?
Even if you are using sweeper or hover to vacuum a rug, there are still some particles that you might not be able to see with your eyes. Over time, you see that these particles will settle on this surface. If you happen to dust, clean the tables, the computers, within like an hour, you use your hand to touch it. You have the feel. There's likely they're going to see some dust particle in your hand. So
okay.
I don't know.
So first things first, ladies and gentlemen, you see that our traditional brooms banish it from your operations.
Yes.
Banish it completely.
Yes.
It has no place in your operations.
Yes.
There's no value of that broom in cleaning operations. Okay.
Yes.
First, it's ergonomically a problem. People bend over to use it. You can't do that.
Absolutely.
And then secondly, is a dust razor. So that's what you don't want to have, right? Now, if you do use a sweeper, those fiber cloth flat sweepers, or a vacuum machine, if you use those two, any of those bottom cleaning devices, you are expected not to have dust raised. If the equipment are not faulty, or you are not having the wrong material in them, they should not raise dust. I mean, why would I be using a sweeper unless the place is so dirty that I had to first reduce the dirt load by doing a first
Yeah.
sweep with a brush, right?
Yes.
Before I now
Yes, sir.
clean top to bottom and still end up with my final sweeper. So the point is, I must end my cleaning top to bottom. It's still
Yes.
important. So if I'm going to do a first heavy load removing using brush or scrubbers or whatever, that's fine because it's very dirty.
Yes.
But my final clean, I cannot say I've done the floor first and then I clean the tables and then I'm not going to go back to the floor again. No, I must always end at the floor.
No.
Aha, good.
Yeah.
All right.
I know that you have to first do all those things before mopping. As you are mopping, you are stepping out of.
Exactly. You're cleaning your way out. Fantastic. All right. Olayemi. Olayemi, go ahead. Are you here? Any other person? All right. Thank you so much, guys.
In the building, we have.
Can you please start again? It looks like I dropped off momentarily.
Okay. So what I was saying is like in our underground tank, where we have the walls of the tank and the bottom is covered in tiles, white tiles. And it's such that sometimes when there is a little problem with or let me say over time, we will have some deposits, the iron stain deposit on the walls of the underground tank after some time, which needs to be cleaned. So we've used some other methods, maybe using some normal cleaning agents. They were not cleaned well, they were not well cleaned. But the moment we use acid to do the cleaning, it normally comes out perfectly white. I mean, it restores the luster and everything looks fine. So now I'm hearing that under no circumstance should we use acid for cleaning. So I want to ask, what method or what cleaning agent can we use to do that?
Okay, so if the acid was produced as a cleaning agent, labeled in the MSDS as this is for cleaning, then it becomes a cleaning agent. Because many chemicals that we use have different components, and many of them are acidic, just like other components are inside the chemicals. But go to the market to go and buy raw acid and dilute it to use to clean, please. This is not a practice that we encourage at all. I know there are cleaning agents that might include some of the compounds that you find in your typical acids, but they have been controlled as cleaning chemicals. Okay, so that's why we say do not just go and buy acids. I know how those cleaners and those tilers want to work. They just go to the market, buy some things, dissolve it, and want to start pouring on surfaces. No, please avoid that. Yeah. So you must search out chemicals that have been designed for cleaning those kind of stains that includes, some active ingredients that you might prefer or acidic content. But let it not just be going to the market for acid. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. The second question, you said there should be no rinsing before cleaning. In some areas whereby you have some stains, some stubborn stains, and that needs some a form of cleaning. From the traditional way of doing things, actually, I'm not a professional cleaner, so I may not know this. When you leave the cleaning agents with the stain for a while, it tends to kind of make it easier for latter cleaning, just like you are soaking a cloth, a stubborn stain.
Soaking is different from rinsing. Soaking is fine.
Okay. So, okay.
You know that soaking is with a solvent. Rinsing is a solid.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you are finished using the solvent, you use the solid to wash it off. So that's what the rinsing comes last.
Okay. Okay, then another question. You mentioned during this team cleaning.
Yeah.
Okay, I had two questions. I think you have answered one of them in the course of the discussion. So the other one, when a team member has to carry out a particular task in all of the areas to be cleaned.
Yes.
Then if, for example, we have maybe cleaning the floor as the primary or the most important aspect of the cleaning, maybe the remaining are just maybe the upper surfaces that needed to be cleaned.
Yeah.
And then if one person, for example, has to go around the whole place to do the cleaning, won't it really, result in the extension of the time required to go around the whole place?
No, it doesn't apply like that. So you see, if you have a team of 5, right, and you want to split such a job, one person is just going to wipe surfaces, and the next person is going to mop the floor as the major work. So it's more like 20% wiping, 80% floor mopping as the big work, isn't it? I will use one person to wipe all 100% of the area and use 4 of them to do the mopping of 25%. Are you getting what I'm saying? So my job as an FM is to ensure that there's balancing of workload. So what that means basically is that the person who is going to do all those wiping probably will need to resume early, cover all of the areas quickly, because the other 4 will split up to do the mopping. You are still doing team cleaning in that approach, because you are now having a team of 2 for each space, one person wiping and one person mopping, isn't it? And so for your 4 spaces that you are split your areas into, you are still having a team of 2, just that the one team member is the same team member of all 4 teams.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just work planning.
Okay, then the last question I want to ask, these air fresheners, most of them are made from inorganic chemicals.
Yes.
You say that they are dangerous.
Yes.
Well, are there exemptions for those ones that because just like you mentioned, when people get into the toilet and then, for example, or to a space, and the ambience is they are perceiving fragrance, you understand? So it's kinds of affect the mood. And then I've had some clients that demand for such. They will tell you they've been to the female toilet. It's kind of have some kind of ambience, that is different from the male toilet, sort of. And just like you mentioned, I'm particular about the re-cleaning, the freshness, but they want the additional kind of. So how do we go about? Are there air fresheners that are friendly and less dangerous?
Explore essential oils. They are distilled in these diffusers. You diffuse them. So it has a small cup in there where you pour some of that oil, maybe in water, and then you light it by putting it on electricity, and then it's agitated, and then it starts coming out with some nice aroma. Those ones are actually, yes, no, it should just be flowing, those ones are actually healthy. Essential oils is the way to go if you need to infuse. So that's the option. A bit more expensive than these cancer-causing chemicals we are spraying everywhere. So please, if you want to have that ambience, of course, at this point, I'm no longer talking cleaning. Cleaning means neutral odors, neutral to scent, neutral to smell. The place is fresh. Cleaning is done, right? But I want to have that luxurious appeal in my environment, then use essential oils and diffuse in the environment. It's beautiful. I use it in my house, and you know, it gives me. There are those for alertness and productivity. There are those for calmness and sleeping and taking away rest. Different moods that you can get from essential oils. Yes, those want to work. And if clients are paying good service charge, why not give them the benefit of the luxury?
Okay. Maybe I'll consult you to give me samples of the one you use.
Definitely. Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. See you again on Saturday.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
I'm teaching again on Saturday.
Hello,
Yes,
sir.
go ahead.
Yes. Okay. So with this cleaning, this acid thing,
Mm.
I think the truth is, maybe most of us are used to the acid solution, acid, right? But now I want to know. I don't know. Are there products that you know off the shelf in Nigeria that one can easily get to use as?
I have not recently used products for stain remover from tiles, but I used a product called Rust Gun those days. Rust Gun. I don't know if it's still on the shelf. And then the last time I had to manage cleaning a 5-star environment, we virtually imported all the cleaning chemicals. So then we had some very good options, very, very fantastic options. And now with Amazon and AliExpress and all of those importation, micro importation, you can actually order anything from anywhere in the world right now. So yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Thanks, guys. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye, sir.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.